Yeah, I just want to say a few words in relation to what we're doing today, but also in relation to what we do in the Borrisoleigh Historical Society and Tipperary and Decade Revolution, to remember the people who gave their lives and made the ultimate sacrifice, and sometimes, maybe not so ultimate, but paid a big price for their involvement to giving us the freedom that we share today. So, the unveiling of this plaque and information board and the event in Pallas later at 4 o'clock will be one of the last, if not the last, commemorative event of the War of Independence of 100 years ago in Tipperary. And perhaps it is fitting that it is here we should stand for such an occasion, as one of the first significant events of the War of Independence took place a distance of less than 2 miles from where we stand now. On the 12th of May of 1919, Sean Hogan was captured at nearby Matters of Anfield. His subsequent rescue at Knocklong railway station and the events that flowed from that rescue in no small way contributed to the IRA gaining the support of the wider population. That support was eventually so pronounced that when the local barracks here in Borrisoleigh was attacked on the 30th of June of 1921, as the raiding party left Glasgow and made their way towards the village, they were joined on the way by young men and women, most of whom were not even members of the volunteers. Tipperary in the Decade Revolution, the historic group with which I am associated and who have organised this remembrance event in partnership with our local historical society, have organised 12 different events marking and remembering various incidents and aspects of the War of Independence within the county. We have also published a number of works which includes a commemorative booklet for each event that we have hosted. Since we set out in March of 2017 in the wake of the 150th anniversary of the Fenian Rebellion, we have tried to hold true to our founding ethos, that each voice of that dramatic period is an authentic voice and one that is allowed to be heard. We have not apportioned glorification or sanctification, and neither have we traded in demonisation or condemnation. We have presented the history as accurately as our research allows, and the only thing that we have asked is that you be mindful that depending on their background or experience, the person standing beside you might interpret that history in a different way to you. So we ask that today, and especially later on in Thurles, as we have done at all our events to date, that in the true spirit of what our republic is all about, that you respect that person's right to hold a divergent view. 2020, from a centenary commemoration point of view, began with the ill-fated and badly thought-out proposal to remember the RIC. The role of the RIC in the War of Independence is well worthy of examination. Certainly examination before commemoration. That police force that began life as the local landlord's private militia and gained the royal prefix as a reward for quelling the Fenian Rebellion of 1867, did indeed contain many decent men. Sergeant Peter Wallace, who conducted numerous raids on the aforementioned home of Matters of Anfield, was described by Joseph E. Maher in an interview with Sean Hogan as being a thorough gentleman. Tom Kearney, who later defected to the IRA, stationed in the Vey Barracks in 1917, would talk about he and fellow constables would help local farmers during the haymaking and harvest seasons. Had Home Rule been granted, the RIC would have become the default police force. There can be no doubt but the RIC did include many upright and decent individuals. How accurate are attempts we see in print and social media in recent times to pin the excesses and atrocities of the Crown forces on Black and Tans and auxiliaries, and absolve all regular RIC of all wrongdoing? Was it Black and Tans that killed Tom Dwyer at the Rag, less than 3 miles from where we stand here, on the night of the 28th of March of 1920? Was it Black and Tans that killed James McCarthy in Thurles on the previous night, or McSweedy in Cork earlier in that month? No doubt the newly arrived Black and Tans played a central role in Dwyer's killing, but common sense alone would dictate that they were acting in collusion, in conjunction, or on intelligence supplied by the regular RIC. In the Dwyer case, the regular police at the Bay Barracks were complicit in the cover-up that followed the killing and brazenly presented perjured evidence to the coroner's inquest that followed. The booklet that we present here today to coincide with the unveiling of this plaque contains the story of the political policing that one man was subjected to in the parish from 1917 onwards. The year 1902 saw Borrisoleigh as the centre of a major land agitation where local police acted not unlike the landlord militias of old. But today is about more than that. Today is about John Stapleton, but not only John Stapleton. Commemorations and events such as we host here today are more relevant to who we are as a community today than what our forefathers were 100 years ago. The country that we live in today was created by John Stapleton, his brothers Paddy and Tom, their cousins Mary and Tom, and that amazing generation who gave so much to ensure, that amazing generation who gave so much to the cause that they believed in. That so many of you have turned up here today in such numbers speak volumes as to who we are as a community. It shows that John Stapleton was never forgotten, which is only right. It's the duty of our community, not any other community or organisation, to honour our forefathers. Borrisoleigh, you could say, has always punched above its weight in the world of sport, politics and culture. Such does not happen without reason. For example, the movement that fought for and finally achieved the exoneration of Harry Gleeson emanated from this parish. In the days of famine, Borrisoleigh fought the Parker landlord tyrants and the useless Lord Portarlington. Come 1867, we were at the centre of Fenianism, and in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, we were to the forefront of the many land wars and agitations. Then came the time of bloody revolution, and into that breach stepped John Stapleton, his comrades, and many young men and women of his generation. The guns have been thankfully silent now for quite some time, but guided by the spirit of generations past, men and women from this parish have excelled in their chosen fields of endeavour. I would like to pay a special thanks to my colleagues in both Borrisoleigh Historical Society and Tipperary Interdecadal Revolution for their support in making today happen. As always, thanks to Eddie Stapleton there. Without Eddie, none of this would happen. Thanks also to the Stapleton family for your support, especially to Perky and Michael and their cousins Sean and Billy, and I include all the Stapleton family in that. And finally, thanks to all of you for being here.